Welcome to the Belated Tech Channel's 53rd edition and the second year of the Space and Tech Rewind. We are reviewing the milestones that occurred on each day in the week of June 14th through June 20th in space exploration, science, and technology. June 14th, 1963. The Vostok 5 capsule was launched to orbit on a Vostok K rocket from the Baikonur Cosmodrome's Launch Complex 1 on this date. Lieutenant Colonel Valery Bykovsky was the cosmonaut on board. 2 days later, Lieutenant Valentina Tereshkova, the first spacewoman, followed in Vostok 6. On its first orbit, Vostok 6 came within about 5 kilometers of Vostok 5, the closest distance achieved during the flight, and established radio contact. Both cosmonauts land safely on June 19th. Bykovsky performed a couple of simple scientific experiments in orbit, and also practiced exercise and testing his body's reaction to weightlessness. The cosmonaut was originally intended to stay in orbit for 8 days, but the mission details changed many times due to elevated levels of solar flare activity at the time, and he was eventually ordered back after 5 days. Nevertheless, this remains the record for solo crewed flight in Earth orbit. June 15, 1844, Charles Goodyear was granted a patent for vulcanization, a method of hardening rubber with sulfur, on this date. Goodyear had failed in his earlier business ventures and was in jail for debt when he began experiments with rubber, searching for a way to prevent it from sticking and melting in hot weather. He experimented endlessly, kneading various chemicals into the raw rubber. He achieved some success in 1837 with a patented acid and metal coating, but it was not until 1839 that he discovered the process of vulcanization. He spent further years in perfecting the process, patenting it in 1844. Vulcanization revolutionized the rubber industry and made a countless number of derivative technologies over the following decades possible. Unfortunately, Goodyear had carried on his research in the face of poverty and debt, and was forced to eventually license his U.S. patent rights for a fraction of their value. He went to Europe to try to establish the rubber business there, but was unsuccessful. He died poor and overworked, leaving his family in debt. June 16, 1911. Financier Charles Flint founded what was to become International Business Machines, or IBM, on this date. For decades, IBM was the largest computer company in the world. IBM is still one of the largest, 9th as of 2019 in terms of revenue. Flint built trusts by merging several smaller companies to form the dominant company in particular fields. He had already formed International Time Recording Company, that was a major player in factory time clocks, and Computer Scale Company of America for scales. He then bought out Herman Hollerith, the founder of Hollerith Tabulating Machine Company, and merged the three companies into Controlled Tabulating Recording Company, or CTR. The new company continued to produce all the products the individual companies had specialized in, but eventually focused on the unit record equipment that Hollerith's company had made. In the 1920s, CTR would rename itself IBM. June 17, 1932. Amelia Earhart embarked on the first transatlantic flight by a woman on this date. Earhart was also the first woman to cross the Atlantic by airplane in 1928, and the first person, man or woman, to fly alone from Honolulu to California, and to fly solo nonstop from California to Mexico in 1935. In 1937, she attempted with a co-pilot, Frederick J. Noonan, to fly around the world at the equator. It was her second attempt, and it almost succeeded, with Earhart flying all the way from Miami to Lae, New Guinea between June 1st and June 29th. Tragically, after leaving for Howland Island on July 2nd, her plane never arrived. Despite a massive search effort by the U.S. government, Earhart, Noonan, and the Lockheed Electra 10E aircraft they were flying in were never seen again. June 18, 1979. In use at the time by over 200,000 computers with the Z80 and 8080 processors, Microsoft BASIC is introduced for the Intel 8086 16-bit microprocessor on this date. By being one of the first to offer a version of the BASIC programming language for the 16-bit processor and making it compatible with their 8-bit versions of BASIC, Microsoft helped move forward 16-bit computing. We discussed the introduction of Intel x86 architecture in Milestones 98. Perhaps more importantly, by developing for the 8086 processor, they soon formed a relationship with Seattle Computer Products, one of the first companies developing an operating system for computers with an 8086 processor. It was this 8086 operating system, which SCP called QDOS, that Microsoft soon bought the rights for and licensed to IBM for their new PC. Microsoft went on to become the largest software company in the world for decades, and as of 2019 is still the 5th largest by revenue. June 19, 1976. The Viking 1 spacecraft enters into orbit around the planet Mars on this date. The interplanetary craft would become the U.S. first spacecraft to land on Mars, and the first spacecraft overall to successfully soft land and perform a mission on Mars. The Viking 1 held the record for the longest Mars surface mission of 2,307 days, or 2,245 Martian solar days, until that record was broken by the Opportunity rover on May 19, 2010. The Mars mission occurred between the last Apollo mission in 1975 and the launch of the Space Shuttle Columbia in 1981, doing much to further U.S. public interest in space exploration during the manned mission hiatus. The Viking 1 was one of 2 U.S. landers to alight on Mars in 1975. The second was the Viking 2, which landed on September 3, 1976. It would be another 21 years before another lander from any country landed on Mars, the Mars Pathfinder, on July 4, 1997. June 20th, 1979. 32 solar panels installed on the White House roof by the Carter administration were dedicated on this date. President Carter wished to demonstrate a commitment to renewable energy use as a model for the nation. At 3 feet by 1.5 feet by 4 inches deep, the panels were not photovoltaic converters that generated energy. Rather, they used solar energy to heat water circulated through pipes in the panels. Carter said, quote, "In the year 2000, this solar water heater behind me, which is being dedicated today, will still be here, supplying cheap, efficient energy." It was not to be. The subsequent Reagan administration had them removed and sent to warehouse storage while the roof was being resurfaced in 1986. Reagan was nonplussed by the current state of renewable energy technology in general, and he slashed the federal research and development budget for renewable energy and eliminated the tax breaks for wind turbines and solar projects. The Carter panels ended up at a Maine college as part of their physical plan. In 2003, improvements in solar panel technology encouraged the Bush administration to install 2 banks of panels on the White House grounds maintenance building, and in 2013, the Obama administration installed a bank of solar panels on the White House itself. Before we get to the current event of the week, we want to see if you enjoyed this 53rd episode of the Belated Tech's The Space and Tech Rewind. If so, click that like button. Did you agree with our choices, or are there other events that were better? Go ahead and share with us by dropping a comment below. And if you have suggestions for an event in the future, we'll take those too. We'll credit events we pick for future videos to those viewers that post them. We hope you have been enjoying our content. Have we earned your subscription to our channel? If yes, and you have not yet taken the opportunity as of yet to subscribe, please take a moment to do so now, and click the bell notification icon so you don't miss upcoming videos. We want to continue delivering great content to you. You can always unsubscribe, and subscribing is free. On June 7th, 2021, Google has been fined nearly $270 million by French authorities for abusing its market power in the digital advertising sector. Specifically, the investigation found that Google gave preferential treatment to its own advertising server, DFP, and its online ad auction house, ADX, in part by providing information about rival bids. As part of the first of its kind settlement agreement announced by the French Competition Authority, Google also agreed to change some of its advertising practices to make it easier for competitors to use its online ad tools as a result of the agreement. Google's promises to change its practices are only binding in France, but the company claimed it would be making changes in a number of other national markets. There was no word as to which markets to which Google was referring. The French investigation came after the News Corp, French newspaper Le Figaro, and Belgian press group Rossel filed a complaint against Google in 2019. Links to some of our most recent episodes can be found in the description section below. You can peruse our entire 250 plus video library by looking at our playlists, which conveniently sort videos by subject. We announce all new videos on our microblogging accounts, as well as in the community feed for this channel. Want to know how to navigate our channel content? We refer to retrotech and innovation documentary segments as episodes. Coverage of current events in space exploration, science, and technology are labeled as shorts. Space and tech history are documented in an anthology called Milestones, and gameplay recordings can be discovered on the BELATED Tech Gaming channel in videos called walkthroughs and side missions. Stay connected by occasionally checking our Instagram feed and Minds page, where we post content from our upcoming episodes and from episodes past that you may have missed, and where we cover current news and events related to channel content. Thanks for watching.